Welcome to the Bitcoin RoadShow, where you will learn things or maybe you won't. How'd you like my new theme tune? Yay! Woohoo! Fucking yeah! Right, today's topic is what should I buy? So I'm going to tell you exactly what to buy and what it's going to get you after 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then if you want to pull out within 1 year and 8 months, what you'll get then. No, I'm not. Right. That topic, when the bull market comes, gets asked quite a lot. What should I buy? I'm lost. Tell me where to go. So, without thinking, the answer that should always be given to you, or else the person is full of shit, is Bitcoin and a bit of Ethereum. Or just Bitcoin. You can't really go wrong. See, when people say arguments, for example, like, oh, you know, at the end of the day, another coin might take first place and blah, blah. What you need to remind them of is that Bitcoin has never gone below 50% market cap. That means all the other coins combined don't come close to it, right? Including Ripple at its best, which is just going to start tanking. Ripple's going to slowly bleed out until it dies, right? You might have little resurgences here and there, but it's not a coin to last. It's not going to happen. It's just got too much competition, and the way it was launched was not good. They even had problems with the Genesis block at the very start, and I think those problems were addressed in Lumens, which I also don't like. But you know, there's a dime a dozen companies out there that have fast blockchains, that have, you know, that have fast transaction speed. Sorry, for their coin that they have on there. There's coins that aren't printed. If you're gonna have a currency, you see. Even Ethereum, right, and Ethereum Classic are mined. In some ways, Ethereum Classic's better because it's mined with a limit on it. But I mean, they can impose a limit in future on Ethereum. So the strength, of course, of getting Ethereum over Ethereum Classic is that it's Ethereum that's being used to pay for your fees, right? And for all these other ICOs and stuff, you know, all these other coins, all these other tokens. You got to use Ethereum to pay your gas, right? That's going to be the strength of it. There's still probably a place as far as on the cash perspective for spending for Ethereum Classic, but for the most part, I kind of went off it, and I sold my Ethereum Classic quite a long time ago. So then, the other thing is, right? Well, I don't really have much money. Let's say, for example, I would like to have X amount, but I only ever hope in the next couple of years to make half as much as what I need. So then you're gonna have to go down the road of taking risks. So then you're gonna have to start being, you're gonna have to start researching. You're gonna have to start being more calculated in what you do. I could start you on your way, and I would say that it all depends whether you're happy to go for unminable tokens for platforms or mineable tokens also on platforms, or some of them are just privacy coins like Monero, like Dash, like Zcash, although I'm not as strong on Zcash as I am on the other two. The platform coins I've mentioned many times: Zilliqa and Dash and Digibyte. Digibyte probably first, actually, and Cardano second, and then Zilliqa third. Now, of course, that's the reason why I'm saying it in that order is because the first two are time tested already. But you may get, look, if all three of them kick off, you might get the biggest gains in Zilliqa, then on Cardano, then on Digibyte, even though Digibyte's been around longer than both of them, right? So on your other side of things, on your unminable platform, and you know, tokens that have been used in areas like DeFi. So those are Chainlink. Chainlink always gets mentioned by everyone because it's kind of a no-brainer now. They're doing really well as far as partnerships. Although a lot of them, like Chico Crypto said, are probably full of shit. Now that's something, again, that XRP got into, or Ripple got into, was continually talking shit. How many times did they mention Swift back in 2016-17? yeah, so just beware. Actually, look into, if you see a name mentioned, go to that company and see if they mention the crypto company. If you like Hashgraph, for example, you can root around and Google information and find information about Hashgraph. And same in a lot of these DeFi projects, you can actually cross-reference the information by looking. Well, they mentioned Hewlett Packard. Does Hewlett Packard mention them? Does IBM mention Lumens? Well, that's a no-brainer. They invest in it, but it's not a good example. Anyway, I'll just move on. I think you get my point. So there's also the unminable platform coins. So you've got Tezos, Hashgraph. One I will tell you I haven't actually read into too much is Hive, and it's probably worth looking into. I might look into that next. But yeah, so what I would say is straight off the bat, if you want to take low risk, the lowest risk thing to do is Bitcoin on its own. The easiest way to spread your risk and get potential gains that are bigger than Bitcoin, so you can eventually get more Bitcoin, are Ethereum and Bitcoin together. Because even though Bitcoin might go up more than Ethereum does, if Ethereum does pop, given the fact that the ratio right now, if you look at the ratio, I think the lowest ratio ever was something like 0.015 or 6. I'm pretty sure that's the lowest in recent years, that the ratio between Bitcoin and since about maybe 2016, since it's gone in that time, and it's gone up to, I think it went up to 0.1 something, which basically is about, what is it, 5x what it is right now. So, well, that's at least 5x what it is right now. Because it was probably about 7x what it is right now, as far as compared to Bitcoin. I'm talking about compared to the dollar, about the same. Yeah, it's about 1,300. So it's not the, let's say if DigiByte or Cardano revisit previous highs, I don't believe that EOS ever will. Telos could, and it's really far down the chain. So there's another one of your platform coins. What I've always liked about Cardano more than EOS and Telos or any other copy that's going to come from it, from that blockchain. By the way, that's the thing to also remember. If someone's developing something good and it's open source blockchain, which most of them are, the big risk, we've seen it time and time again, is that you end up having a fork. Someone basically takes that technology, adds a few cool features to it, and yet they might have the connections to get in, some partnerships going. And then before you know it, your coin is plummeting down forever, like EOS has been doing, and EOS will probably continue to do. If it does, Dan Larimer's a complete fuckhead. That's all I can say. Because that would be really irresponsible for people who invested in it, put so much money into it. I remember him, sorry, it's my dog panting. I remember him saying at the time that like basically laughing at investors, saying this is way more. I suppose it needed to happen when people are throwing money and not thinking. He said that investors were he was basically mocking investors. That's the way I took it at the time, back in 2017. That people who were investing in it, well, basically got a bit overzealous or over exuberant. And he said this is way more than what we require to do what we need to do. Well, that's funny, because it just seemed to be a little bit of a non-starter. You heard a bit of news in 2000 might have been late 2018. I can't remember when they launched the main net. But since that time, you would have expected they'd put a lot of money into marketing. Nothing happened. You'd expected they'd put a big drive for sales guys with good networking to get out there and make partnerships. Didn't happen. So it's a real non-starter there. Not just that. I remember looking into, for my own purposes, for a business I was working with the other year, private, looking in for low transaction coins rather than having an Ethereum coin. We were thinking about doing maybe a token swap using a different network so that the transaction fees would be lower. And there was so many downsides on the going into Ethereum that it just seemed like it was just not worth going from Ethereum into EOS, so it didn't seem worth it. DigiByte would have made a lot more sense. There you go. So that's just one prime example there. A guy who I watched, CM Dog, you might want to watch the channel, really good. He's also a Scotsman as well. Does some really good rundowns. He chooses like a coin an episode, and I think he he gives rundowns that aren't too lengthy. You know, like my videos can stretch on a bit. Other people, even when they do, like the Modern Investor, a great channel, but he goes on a little bit long as well sometimes. You know, people like Tone Vase and all that, they just go on for bloody hours. I can't even watch these guys anymore. Just some people like Richard Hart. God, that guy loves the sound of his voice. 3.5 hours video. Come on, mate, fucking stop jerking off on camera. So yeah, but his channel's pretty good. One of the downsides that he mentioned of DigiByte that I'm gonna just basically address, only because I don't fully agree with it. Me and my friend were talking last night about it actually, and he was talking about the transaction. You know, when you get the full mining takes place, same as what's going to happen with Bitcoin. How are you going to make your money? I guess that for Bitcoin, the one thing that could happen if the network got faster is to if they came up with new technology in the future for stronger verification of nodes, you could probably have the money share between less validators, or it could go between the first validators would get a bigger share than other validators later on. Let's say, for example, you have platforms that give you access to trade with your coin, but won't allow you to withdraw until it gets so many validations. You know what I mean? Like I think Binance does that, or maybe Bittrex does it. Because I know I've had money I just sent on the other day and it was only validated twice, just for example. So these are sort of ways they could probably share money out to make it more valuable for miners in the future after all the coins are mined, so they're only passing transactions like a node would. Actually, nodes don't do that either; they just do valid. You know what? I'm not 100% au fait with exactly how nodes work versus miners. You know. And you got a copy of the ledger, but I don't actually understand how it gets written to, for what information. You know, if it's just continually written to, so that others can properly get information from it. I will look up that one as well for next time that I talk about it. But yeah, DigiByte. The problem there, because the transactions are so cheap, is no matter what you do, it kind of gets into a little bit of an issue. But what me and my friend were talking about was that, and I think he actually mentioned it first, was about phones, but what I was thinking about was overall the compute power in the hands of everyone, like from a tablet to a desktop computer to even your TV, your smart TVs sitting at home, for example. Maybe you'll have those running as effective mining rigs. So like a lot of these new projects, a lot of these smaller projects like Electronium and Pi is a newer one that a lot of people are talking about in this country, where you're mining from equipment that's a lot smaller. I don't know if they're ASIC resistant and stuff, so that it limits people who are coming in there and basically mining everything with some kind of ASIC rig or some high-end GeForce card or something, whatever. But yeah, I mean that might be the model for the future for some of those sort of networks, to make it still viable for people to have nodes, so you still keep the decentralization happening, so you don't end up with this situation that Bitcoin's kind of suffering from right now, where you have basically, if you haven't got S17 miners or you know the latest Dragon Mint or whatever it might be, you're not going to be in the race, which isn't really, yeah, it's not ideal. It's hard to know how they'll deal with that, but I'm sure if it becomes an issue, they will. That's the thing. See, when it comes to Bitcoin, people want them to react, the Bitcoin core team to react before there's actually a problem. And this could be best seen with Bitcoin Cash, for example, and also Bitcoin ABC, not ABC, which the other one? Well, that as well. All the Bitcoin forks, but especially Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV. So you know, they were solving problems that didn't need to be solved. Like, for example, if you wanted fast Bitcoin, DigiByte is a Bitcoin fork as well. Litecoin was a Bitcoin fork as well. It was already fast. InvertCoin, I think, was a split off of Litecoin, if I'm not mistaken. You know, of course, you've got Vericoin and all these other ones. You get so many fast coins out there. We didn't need fast coins. It was a little bit different when you had, say, Cardano and EOS talking about what they were going to do, because they were talking about platforms that would scale better than Ethereum. Well, you know, you can say that until you're actually scaling to that size. You know, proof is in the pudding, of course. It sounds to me that, you know, from the opinions of actual programmers, that Cardano is going to be the one to go for in the future. And the reason why I'm so bullish on that one is because all the programmers I've worked with over my career, they've got one thing in common: they don't really rush. I can't think of any programmer I've ever known, or a DBA. Any database developer, database administrator, you know, any full stack coder, they've all been like usually quite calm, not usually erratic. They're usually quite introverted, so they don't buy into the whole hype bullshit. So I can understand how Charles Hoskinson, who really comes across as a total dick, how he could be perceived as someone who's not going to deliver for people who haven't worked in these sectors. I know what it's like, and they want to create something that when they look at their code, they want to be proud of it. You know what I mean? It's the same way as someone who's a car nut. They don't necessarily want to do up the car really quickly, and you look around it and it's like, oh yeah, all looks really good, and you get really close up, it's like, oh god, that's pretty bodgy. Oh, look at this, it's a mess. Oh man. And well, it's the same kind of thing. You know, I know when me personally, if I work in like the data center environment, I don't want to be rushed. I want to do things. I want to deliver things that look, whether I'm the engineer or later on when I was a manager, I want to have a data center that looks like a well-oiled machine. You know what I mean? A clean ship. You look around and every cable, there's not one cable turning in the other direction. You know, all the fiber is trunked separately from the shielded cable. Like I've done stuff for stock exchange and all sorts of stuff. So you got all these nice colors that are defining what kind of network topology you network type you have, whether it's a Cat6 or a Cat5 or fiber or whatever it might be, or whether it's a backhaul trunk. So everything's, you don't want to have a hodgepodge of different colors and a bird's nest of everything. You know, you can take pride in your work. Well, especially so with those guys. There is one type of coder though that is a rush type, and that is a get it done type of coder. And they are a rarity, and I would actually say that Vitalik Buterin probably falls into that category, because you know, one of our friends Jeff in Texas, he's another high-end full stack coder, and the first thing he said when we met back in 2017, I think it was, yeah, up in Jackson Hole actually, I got so drunk with him, him and his wife. He was saying how messy the ERC20 platform was, ERC20 standard was. Yeah, and all I've heard is good things about Cardano. So look, when it comes to the you look at all these partnerships that are going on, for example, with some of these big players coming in, Oracle, SAP, horrible platform. Every company I've been to, by the way, that has tried to implement SAP has either gone bankrupt by the implementation, or it's never been implemented right, and it's just been slower than cancer, right? But that company is worthless. I think it's a German company actually originally. So is Siebel CRM, who's a competitor for Salesforce, for example. So all the Salesforce, another one. They're all getting involved in these spaces. So this is why things like synthetics and Link are going to take off, even if only half the partnerships they talk about are true. They're going to be doing well. But the thing is, you can see the news from these other companies that reference about these Tezos and various other. So I think they're all going to do pretty well. I just don't want to spread myself too thin this bull season. And I'm going to remember that last time. I mean, it's okay once you're coming into the bull market, or this way around if you're looking at the camera, into the bull market. Yeah, you can get into your ICOs, wait for good projects. But you know, I would say that if you think you're getting to the stage where anyone mentions the word bubble, that's when you start slowly selling out to Bitcoin. Just remember that in the next 2 years, because this is probably going to be a 2-year cycle we're going to go through just now. Well, sorry, it's going to span 2 years. It won't necessarily last 2 years. The reason why I think it could last longer than the previous bull market is because you've got so many more other markets that are deflating. You're going to have capital flight from everything from stocks, commodities, real estate market, everything. So yeah, I would say to be safe, Bitcoin, to spread your risk, Bitcoin, Ethereum, to make some potential gains, with the risk of actually making less Bitcoin overall if they don't work out. To put a spread of some of the coins that I've mentioned there. Privacy coins, for the first time, I'm not going to actually recommend any of them, even Monero. And now, the reason Monero could go south is because the countries that are against it, right? That could make its value go up, but it could also make its value go down. People think, well, why should I'm secure enough with using Dash or Ethereum if I use a mixer, for example, or a Bitcoin. So let's just stick to that. And then you got to remember as well that companies like Litecoin are implementing, you can get privacy through, although I haven't seen it working myself, you can apparently get privacy through Lightning Network, which Bitcoin has as well, and of course Vertcoin. I don't know why I mentioned Vertcoin twice. Look, some of these coins will just die off, and Vertcoin's probably one of them that will probably die off. I hate to say it, I don't want to break anyone's heart out there, but it's just true. It's going to take a lot to stay in the top 100 over the next few years, right? The same way the way that market cap works is so, if you could see it in a graph form, it really is. It's hyperbolic. Once it gets to Bitcoin, as I say, between 60 to 70% generally, even higher historically, and then you get down to Ethereum. I think it's under 10%, but maybe about 9. I think Ethereum. Let's say if Bitcoin goes down to 60%. It might even be because Ethereum goes up to 20, not because the rest of the market gets stronger. Of course, that might not happen, but it could do. I've gone back to my original position that I had back in 2015 on Ethereum, just because I was getting a little bit annoyed with the price action in Bitcoin. And so the other day I just kind of threw my toys out my pram and said, fuck yeah, I'm just going to stick it all back on Ethereum now. So that's actually quite good. I feel kind of calm now. Even though Bitcoin's probably going to go up and take a big hike soon, and Ethereum's going to be left in the dust, and I could have probably done better if I'd bought in later on. I don't care. It's just, it's fine. You don't always have to be making the maximum all the time. But yeah, so the other thing I was going to say is definitely if you just try accumulate. Don't even trade. The only reason you should really be on a trading platform in this market, so another thing me and my friend Seb were talking about, is if you're doing swing trading, like over watching a macro market, so over the space of a year. So you're watching, if you're watching a chart, for example, you watch it over let's say you're in TradingView, look at no less than 6 hour, or day, or even a month chart. If you have one of these things that have money flow indicators and RSI and all that sort of stuff, Cryptoface does sell one like that called Market Cipher, a little bit on the pricey side, but 500 for 5 months. But you've another thing you could do is, it's a lot cheaper, is Steve from Optical Art Crypto does sell charts that play out. You don't actually have to have a TradingView account to see his one, but it just shows you real pivot points. He's not as accurate for telling you when a dump or a pump's going to happen. He sometimes will give you some information like that by reading into the charts, but most of his is around the Fibonacci rings, and it will show you where price pivots are likely to come. When it hits this part, it will likely go up or down here at this point. Now, if you were to use certain indicators in conjunction, you can probably work out what direction that goes just before it happens. When you see money flow into it, oh right, that must mean it's going to go up now. If you see it go into the red, then look, it's going to go down when it hits that pivot point. And this can help you if you want to be, rather than being just, because I usually talk about this stuff for traders, but now I'm saying for hodlers, this stuff can help you. When you're sitting there with a pot of money that you've got in your bank account that you're adding to every week, which religiously every week, like let's say for example you've got $100 worth of discretionary income every week, and you put that into an account, even if you put it on the Coinbase platform, the Luno platform, whatever platform you choose to use, so that it's there ready to purchase. You don't have to wait for your transaction to go through, or in the case of a bank transfer, you don't have to wait for it. Do you want to go in the back, wee man? Up, go back there. Okay, fair enough. Get all roasting hot. Yeah, so put it in. I know people say don't leave money in exchanges, but unless you're gonna sit there, unless you've already bought yourself, which you probably should, if you've got anything more than $1,000 to put into crypto, you should spend about €100 or $100, whatever it is, buying yourself a Ledger Nano X. I wouldn't bother with the S. It's only going to save you a few bucks, I think. Sometimes when the special's on, when I upgraded, I actually bought one to give to a friend as well. It was cheaper to buy 2 in 1, the old one and the new one together. So you look out for those kind of deals on there. I still think Ledger, when I set up Trezor, I find it more of a pain in the ass with those stupid little dots and stuff. I don't know if you've ever used a Trezor before, but I really believe that Ledger's a lot better to use. I'm just not, I don't know, just not so trusting enough of the what are they called again? MiFi? No. no, I can't remember. There's another company that John McAfee was talking about. You know, same as Keep Key. I'm just not really sure about them until I've heard more news about them really and used them myself. So yeah, that's it really. Yeah, have your money ready to go. And rather than just simple dollar cost averaging in, what you might find is if you're watching, look, I can see the RSI. Basically, Bitcoin's overbought at the moment, so it could go down. Oh, look, money flows really low. There's a signal that it's going to come down. So if you're sitting with your once a week time ready to buy Bitcoin, you might want to do it at that point. So get used to reading charts. And if you don't want to look on places like TradingView or Coinigy, then you look on just CoinMarketCap or not CoinMarketCap, it's owned by Binance. I don't like monopolies. Look in World Coin Index or OnChainFX. There's a whole bunch of these sites out there. Look at CoinGecko and look at the charts and see, right, where has it been recently? Now, because we've just been in a halving, with Bitcoin particularly, you'll need to wait for and because it's the leading indicator for everything else, you'll need to wait till the market stabilizes a little bit. And that's not going to happen for a while, but by the time it stabilizes, the price will be up. So in the future, when you're doing it, what you'll do is you look at the zigzag and you think, right, lately the top of the zigzag on average has been up here, the bottom has been around there, so I'm going to set some buy orders around here to get triggered. That's what you do. So I don't know if you can set buy orders on Coinbase. If you can't, then you'll have to just be watching and waiting for it when it goes down. In this case, you would use an app like Blockfolio to give you alarms when the price goes up or down when it hits certain things. So get the Blockfolio app. That's it, Riz. About all the help I can give you. I think we've got dips coming. No one knows how low these dips will go. Don't listen to these people, these contrarians and people who say it must go down. Bitcoin doesn't have to do shit. Bitcoin owes you nothing, right? It doesn't need to go down to $1,700, but it might. So dollar cost averaging is the best in that respect. But again, be ready to buy. Be happy with. Stick with what you've done. You know, don't buy in and go, oh, it's going lower. It's sell out now because it might go. Oh no, it's going up again. Oh, and then you've just halved what you've got. You know, don't do that. Just commit to it and know that whatever you buy it at, even now, even if you buy it 10 grand, even if you buy it at 12, you're still getting it for a good price, right? So that's the thing to keep in your mind. That's still a good price. It's been at 20 before. It'll be at 20 again. It'll be far beyond that. I think it's about an average of 17x from the previous high. So you're looking at something along the lines of, wow, right, that's 2, 3, geez, that's, damn, that's over $500,000. So, I mean, that's where it could go, you know? You know, it's quite amazing, isn't it, to think about it that way? Yeah, good luck with your hodling and your accumulation. Don't bitch out. Don't FOMO in. Because even when you see something bolt away, like, there's a few rare exceptions, but even with the start of a bull run, it doesn't usually go all at once, and if it does, then you know it's due for a pullback. So just chill the fuck out. That's about it, really. Take care. Have a good weekend if you're watching this today. If it's Friday, yeah, alright, bye.